had this range for about a year now, and I still really like it, but I have found a few downsides. I'm just gonna just demonstrate at least one of those right now, which is that these burners, you cannot have all the burners on high power and actually get high power out of all of them. So just for demonstration here, I've got these 4 pots boiling, and you can see that this pot, the burner is cycling on and off because we've overpowered. I think these two burners, this big one and the small one here, are on the same circuit, and they can only draw so much power. So if you try to put them both on more than like five, more than five, I think, it'll start to cycle one or the other on and off. Um, Same thing happens on this side, although not quite as badly. I think probably because this big burner probably pulls more power than either of these little burners do. But I've noticed it. I mean, usually I'm not. Usually I don't need more than, simmer if I'm using all 4 burners at the same time. But every now and then, like I'm trying to sear something on this burner and simmer back here, and then the pot that's simmering is boiling on and on. Um, so that's something to be aware of, especially if you're going to do like a lot of searing all at one time. I'm not sure why you'd ever be searing with 4 different pans at the same time, but I guess it could happen. The other thing that I've noticed that I actually find a bit more annoying is that, speaking of searing, when you're searing, especially when I'm searing with cast iron, which seems to retain a lot of heat, um, I can end up overheating the burner, I think. Um, at a certain point, the burner will get so hot that it will just turn itself on down to low. And even though I have it set to 7 and my pan isn't really searing anymore, it just, you can hear it cycling the power clicking on and off like it's on, 1 or 2 power. I found that, and I actually did a review of this product. This is the Lomi mat. This is intended to keep your stovetop clean, which I think is kind of silly, but what I bought it for was actually to insulate the stovetop from a hot pan. So if you need to sear for a long time, if you find yourself, usually when it's a problem for me is when I'm making like a whole bunch of corn tortillas from scratch, because you have to use fairly high heat for a pretty long time to cook all those tortillas. Um, I find that if I put the cast iron on top of these mats, these fireproof mats, I get the high power again. I don't know if it senses that the pan is too hot and tries to shut off the burner, or if I'm actually overheating the element. But that's my workaround for that, which is kind of annoying because these were kind of pricey. I do have. I imagine you could use something else. Like I have this fire blanket, which is just a fiberglass blanket. I bet that this would do the same thing. I never tried it. Or even I've heard of people using like those black welding mats. Just something to put between the hot pan and the burner itself. That's fireproof. Um, but it doesn't come up very often, and when it does, this solution seems to work pretty well for me. But something you might want to be aware of if you're used to gas and being able to turn all the burners up to high heat and never have to worry about it.